Alright, so excuse the poor lighting, but what I'm doing is I'm building shelves here in my shed. Now what you see in front of you are 3 completed shelf units. So 2x4 frame, 1/2 inch OSB on top, 12 foot long for the first 2, and then a 6-footer in the middle, because when you come up to the way the shed's made, I can get 4 foot at about where that line is, and then the 6-footer goes right here in the middle. Sorry for that. 6-footer goes right there in the middle. See if I can get there again. Yeah, right there. So I can put some lightweight small stuff up on top. Now the way you hold those up and make everything sturdy, because these are 2 foot deep, 12 foot long, is kind of critical. And if you can see over here, this is a set I made last year. Those are heavy ceramic molds sitting on it at the moment. Alright, and so what I'm doing is I'm notching out right here. These are landscape timbers. Let's see if I can get a better shot. And you see how that's notched out to hold the weight of the shelf. So that's what we're going to do here in a minute. So stand by as I get there. Alright, so what you're looking to do, back up a little bit here. There's a landscaping timber that's been cut to length. These are 4 foot long, and they're going to support the 2 12-footers. Now, all you do is notch it. So you can see that about halfway through. So that's about a 3-inch depth. You go about 1.5 inches in. The devil is in the details, obviously, because when I told my friend how I was doing this, he said, well, how many people do you think know how to make that anymore? So here's the process for notching out, or mortising, which is the more correct term. Put this back here. So you're starting with just a piece of landscaping timber that I cut to length. Obviously you got to know how to measure and cut. If you don't know how to do that, stop this video, go find out. So once it's cut to length, then you determine what end is going to be on the floor. Alright, in my case I started down here with that on the floor. And I used my tape measure, and I have several, because anybody that builds probably has a bunch of these. Alright, so I measured up. I want to have one shelf at 24 inches. You can see it's kind of upside down, but that's, you can still read it. And then obviously the other one topping off at 4 feet, which is 48 inches. So I measured back from there 4 1/8 inches in each case. Alright, 4 1/8 inches down from the top of the shelf. Now where did I come up with 4 1/8 inches? Stand by. Okay, so 4 1/8 is the measurement that I got after creating the shelves. You build the shelves first. Now they're 2x4s with a 1/2 inch or 7/16 actually piece of OSB on top. So anybody that knows, generically a 2x4 is actually 3.5 inches thick. So you take 3.5 inches and then you add an extra less than 1/2 inch of OSB, and you should be below 4 inches. And if you had built the posts before you built the shelves, you'd have a problem. In reality, just because of the way wood goes together and it's not straight and it's not uniform as much as you'd like it to be, actually the shelves are running 4 1/8. Some of them 4 1/16, but if I go 4 1/8, I should have plenty of room. So the concept there is build the thing that is more critical first. Let me try to get some, yeah, there you go. Build the thing that's more critical first, and then measure it and see how big it really is, and then make your notches. All right, hang on a minute. So we're back to the notches again. All right, so on this piece I've marked out where the notch is going to be. Now you notice I put an X in here. That's an old trick of a carpenter that I apprentice with a long time ago showed me, when you have a lot of spaces where you're marking lots and lots and lots of lines, if you put an X in the part that you're going to cut out, it keeps you straight on what's getting cut and what's not getting cut. All right, now that then leads to this. So what I did is I took a saw and I cut straight across to the depth of 1.5 inches, because this is only 3 inches thick. I wanted 1.5 inches bearing to support the load, and then 1.5 inches to support the load above it. That's plenty strong enough to do anything you need to do in this kind of situation. So cut it straight across. You can do that with a hand saw. I did it with an electric, hang on, I'll swing around here. This is my my new Milwaukee battery saw. It's an 18-volt battery saw. I had been using, no, look, you don't have to have new tools. Let me start right up there. I got this because my Sears circular saw that I bought on sale in 1990, one of my Nimrod buddies dropped off the roof and bent the table on it, this thing here. So I can no longer make sure that the cuts are square. Saw is in great shape, and if I can get another table for it, then great. But as it was, I couldn't use a saw, so I had to upgrade. And as I was looking at getting a corded saw, I ran into this thing, and they were on sale in Home Depot after Christmas. They get all these kind of things in for Christmas, and they get hundreds of them in, and whatever doesn't sell in February goes on sale. Now what they do often is, like the saw, all the saws in the area were put in one store. So the saws were on sale like 60 bucks off. And then the batteries, because it came without a battery, the batteries were all on sale in another store, like 40% off or something like that. So now, and the reason why I haven't gotten a lot of these tools is these batteries are horrendously expensive, as anybody out there who has tools will tell you. And they don't last forever. A couple of years, and you're looking at getting a new one. So and you have to have at least 2 if you're working with that as your primary tool. So you can very quickly rack up a lot of money. And I held off doing that for a long, long time, but I found out that just in using other tools that I've got a way to charge that through a solar system, and so that may actually be, from a prepping standpoint, a really handy thing to have. I also have drill drivers, impact wrenches and stuff like that work on the same battery. So if you're looking at going to a battery system, make sure that the battery works on all the tools. That's critical. So if you want to have, I used to have all DeWalt stuff. You know, I was yellow. Everything I had was yellow. Back in the day when they had NiCad batteries. And this wound up being the right deal at the right time. So once I committed to, actually I got the drill driver set first, that kind of battery, then everything else needs to be that kind of battery going forward. So when you make your jump into these battery operated tools, make sure you stay with a good battery. Do your research, find out what works. I'm not saying that this is by far the best one on the market, but it works, and it works really, really well. It's actually a lot quieter than my old saw. It's got a lot less vibration than my old saw. And it's a full 7 1/4 blade. So, at any rate, so you make those cuts. Let me turn around again. Sorry for that grunt, but I'm getting too old to be up and down like this all the time. All right, so you make your cuts like this. Now to go from there, to this, what do you do to knock that out? Well, that's what this is for. Hammer and chisel. All right. I want to talk about a chisel a minute because, well, people don't understand chisels anymore. And let me just start by saying, when I hire a carpenter, if he hasn't got a chisel in his tool belt, I don't hire him, because that tells me he doesn't know what he's doing. Okay? Now, this is a mortising chisel. Notice It's got a rather, let's see where I can find a good, there we go. It's got that kind of edge on it, but then the corners are angled. You can see that? So it's a very tough tool. It's angled all the way down. Here's the handle. I don't know how well it's coming out. It's a wooden handle, metal cap. The steel goes all the way through that wooden handle, so the impact on the cap goes all the way through. You don't have to have new tools. Like I said, this tool dates from probably the 1930s, at the very least World War II. All right. It has been abused. I've had to work on it and redo that edge because people were trying to cut nails with it and stupid things like that. So I rescued it. I'm not even sure it's entirely steel. The way it takes this patina, it looks more iron with an edge that's been steeled. And that's an old term for how to make something. Don't worry about it. You can go buy Stanley or any number of other brands. Try to get back here. A little bit more of a, there we go, that's better. Just look for one where the metal goes all the way through. You can get the ones where they have just plastic handle. They'll break eventually. How many years of service you get out of them, I don't know. I wouldn't buy one myself. All right. The other thing is, look at this edge. All right. That's got a mirror edge on it because I keep it sharp. All right. You have, just like with a knife, you sharpen it, then you hone it, and then you strop it on a piece of leather. All right. This is as sharp or sharper than any hunting knife that I own. And you got to keep it that way in order for it to work doing what it's doing. So let me set up the camera to show you how to knock these things out. Stand by. All right, so we're back again. So what I'm going to do is take the chisel. You can see I've got a line that I measured down here at my halfway point, 1.5 inches in. That's when I made the cuts to 1.5 inches depth. If you don't know how to set a saw to do that, that's a whole nother story. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the chisel and knock those out. The reason why I have so many little cuts in here is to make it easier to clear these pieces of wood out. You could try to chisel that whole big old piece out, but the wood being fibrous is going to fight you the whole way. So as you cut those fibers, now they should pop out a lot more easily. Also notice on the chisel, all right, you've got one edge. It's not like a knife, it's got two edges. Okay, so you've got the bevel here. You use the chisel such that the, how do I want to say this? When you hit it down, the bevel is going to go that way. Okay, if you put it this way, you're going to wind up digging in that way. I hope that makes you, so that the direction of the bevel, every time you beat it, is going to go in that kind of direction. So what you want to do in this case is I want this stuff to come up. So I'm going to put the bevel on the bottom side, the flat part here. Okay, and I'm going to line it right up with the bottom of these notches. Tap it with a hammer, and out they come. Now I'll have to clean that out. It's obviously not done, but it's not dramatically difficult if you have the right tools. Now if you don't have a chisel, this could take you all day doing it different other ways. All right, see how that's just popping right out of there? Okay, and I'm trying to hold it this way so that it drives these things up, splits them out, and gets them out. If I did it this way, I would be going down into the wood that I'm trying to save and tearing that all up. All right. So again, bevel down. Now, if you're going to come from the back side, which you can do, just make sure you're not standing over here. That's a very sharp implement, and if it comes this way at you, you're going to hurt yourself. So stand off to the side when you do that. Stand this up, I can get a better angle of attack on it. Oops. Yeah, you got to hang on to it. That's one of the reasons I always do it on another piece of wood. And sometimes you're prying a little bit, that's okay. The trick is don't go below your cuts. Because if you go below your cuts, now you got to, like right here, now you have to use the chisel to cut the wood fiber. You can do that, it's designed to do that. It's just not quite as clean. So you keep doing this for anything that sticks up where you don't want it. Now notice something here that you're going to have with a timber that you're not going to have with most wood, and that's the core of the tree right in here. All right, that's your center. You can see where the rings are here. So you're going to have some weird grain direction as you go through here. That's why I tap it rather than just whack at it, because I want to be in control of the chisel so it doesn't take a direction I don't want it to go. Now you have to push the chisel into the wood sometimes when you're making these final little clearing cuts. Get that out there. All right. Lay that down again. Okay, we're almost finished. So another couple of, it's okay to come in at an angle if you need to. And then I use the edge of the chisel just to see where the high points are. You notice sometimes I attack it straight on, sometimes I come from an angle. It's just a matter of where the tool bites into it and what it is that I'm trying to get done. Cleaning up the edge. Now, this kind of mortising has been used for centuries, millennia, for holding wood together. All right. Now, if you were doing timber post, you may actually have a situation where you're putting, you know, a structural piece together like that. You know, when it fits, obviously. So this kind of joint is very, very basic to construction work. Now, if you were doing fine woodwork, you'd have to work that out. Since what I'm doing is making shelves, that's fine for what I'm trying to accomplish. It's level, or I should say it's flat enough, and I can use the edge of the chisel just to check, see where the high spots are, and just to check to make sure that we are where we think we are. Got an 1.5 inch depth. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So, stand by. Hi, just want to do a quick note on sharpening things. Your chisel's going to have to be razor sharp in order for it to work properly. You probably heard the old adage that dull tools are dangerous tools. They are, they absolutely are. So I want to show you what I use to sharpen my chisels and pretty much everything else I have. pick it up here so you can get a better look at it. All right, this is the Work Sharp. I forget what exactly they call it, but this little tool is absolutely amazing for sharpening things. You've got a rough diamond, smooth diamond, and then a ceramic, both rough and smooth. There's a little serrated dealy bob over here. But this is what I use to sharpen literally everything from a scalpel to a chisel to my axe on occasion, although I still use an old oil stone for the axe most of the time. But anything that's got to get razor sharp, this is the thing I use to do it. I think it cost like maybe 20 bucks. And it's having all those edges on. Oh, it's also got a leather strop on the back here, which is something most people forget. So it's a little bit heavier than I would like it to be, but for what it is, I'll put up with it. Now let me explain sharpening for a minute, and I'll use the chisel as an example. All right, this is the rougher side. If you've got a good edge, and you can see I loaned that to a guy and he hit a couple of nails with it, so I'm going to actually have to put a new bevel on that. But if you've got a good edge, okay, and you've just been working with it, you probably don't need the rough diamond side. You may need just the smooth diamond side, or if you catch it early enough, all you need is a ceramic. All right, so that's the difference between sharpening and honing. If you already have a proper edge on it, you don't need to sharpen it again. What you need to do is hone it. Sharpening is working the bevel. All right, and I'm going to have to do that to take those little chips out of there because a moron hit a nail with it. So that's actually sharpening. But at the moment, while I'm working with this, and I need to, if it starts to get a little bit dull, I need to hone it. And so if I catch it early enough, all I need to do is run it on the ceramic to bring the edge right back. And then if you don't understand about stropping on leather, anything that's sharp gets what's called a wire edge right up in here. And the best way to take that off is with a piece of leather. Now lots of guys, if you watched Forged in Fire or something, they use leather belts sometimes. That'll work. But something that is a strop, which is, you know, glued to a fixed piece of something, is a little bit better to do that. And I find that now that I have it available, I actually include that step every time I sharpen something, and it makes a tremendous difference because what you're doing is you're polishing this edge to a high degree, and the more polished it is, the smoother it is when you're trying to chip away at the wood, you know, or gut the deer or whatever it is you're trying to do, okay? So honing versus sharpening, if you catch it early enough, you're just honing. And I think I got this in Cabela's, but I've seen them pretty much everywhere. So if you haven't got one of these puppies and you've got dull tools, your own fault. Go out and get one. All right? Because if you can't keep them sharp, don't have them. So here is the finished product. Shelves 2 feet apart. The upright supports are 3 feet apart. So that's a 6-foot shelf there on the top. 2 12-foot shelves down there, 2 feet wide, supported by landscaping timbers. And the reason why this works so well are these big old notches that we did right here. Now for those of you not familiar with it, the 1.5 inch I left here is the thickness of a 2x4. So that's literally a whole 2x4 out here and another 2x4 holding the thing up. If you can do mortises, you can do an awful lot of work in wood, and it can be very, very strong. All right. So, regardless of the fact that I'm sweating like a hog because it's so humid out here, that's how you do a mortise joint. Notch, if you want to call it a notch, I don't care. But simple tools. Carpentry is not complicated if you understand what it is you're trying to do. Anytime you build something, you have to analyze how the joints are coming together. You know, is the wood coming in this way? Is it going that way? Is it stronger this way? Is it stronger that way? And I'm not going to be able to tell you one overall answer because everything is different. But you need to make sure that you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. And one of the only ways to do that really is get out there and build stuff. And hopefully it doesn't come crashing down on you because you screwed it up. There's all kind of books out there. There's obviously lots of stuff on the internet. But you learn by doing, so get out and do. Like I say with anything, normally I say get back out in the woods. In this case, get some tools in your hand and start carving up some wood and do something with it. And I think you'll find out that it's a lot easier to work with than you thought it was. There are a couple of tricks to keep you out of trouble. Always, be careful about safety and which direction your sharp tools are going. But other than that, just do it. And you'll be surprised how good you can get at it. All right, so this is Cold Warrior 78 saying, yeah, get it back out in the woods or get some tools in your hand and go build something. All right, have a good time.